You think the narcissist replaced you, that they left you, jumped to someone new and erased you like you never existed. Maybe you believed you were the one discarded, but today, I want you to see the truth no one dares to say out loud. It's the narcissist who always gets replaced in the end, and there's no escaping that fate. When you loved, you gave your heart. When they left, you bled. But here's the truth. They didn't fail to love you because you weren't worthy. They failed because they can't love anyone. And that's why they're forever trapped in a cycle of replacing, discarding, destroying every bond they touch. They think they're moving forward. They think they're winning. But the truth is, everyone leaves them. Cars are sold, houses are abandoned, friends walk away, spouses emotionally detach, even their children grow up and walk out of their grasp. Eventually, they are erased by the very world they tried to dominate. In today's video, we're tearing that illusion apart. You're going to see exactly why the narcissist always gets replaced, and how you actually won, quietly and powerfully. Stay with me until the end, because this truth isn't just healing, it's empowering. And if you're walking the path of recovery, hit subscribe and turn on notifications, because your victory deserves to be witnessed, celebrated, and protected. You thought you were the one who got left behind. They walked away with someone new, parading their happiness, while you were left shattered, hollow, and drowning in the painful belief that you'd been replaced. That's one of the deepest wounds of being entangled with a narcissist. But here's what you didn't see. The person who always ends up being replaced is them. And not by accident, but by design. A narcissist never truly connects with anyone. They didn't love you, and they won't love the next person. What you saw was an illusion, a curated version of someone new they used as a temporary escape from the chaos inside. It wasn't love, it was a form of emotional anesthesia, using another human as a tool to numb their own void. Because they can't sustain healthy connection, narcissists are locked in a pattern of constant change. They discard, replace, restart, as if the past didn't happen. But what they fail to understand is this: every person they walk away from is a mirror they lose. And eventually, they run out of mirrors. All that's left is an empty mask, reflecting nothing but silence. Have you ever wondered why they're never satisfied? Why they move from one person to the next, one obsession to another, one home, one car, one fix? Because they're chasing a sense of wholeness they'll never find. They replace everything: cars, houses, friends, partners, even children, until eventually they become the one replaced by all the things they once used and discarded. What terrifies them isn't abandonment, it's irrelevance. It's the moment when no one's left to control, no one's left to react, no one believes the mask anymore. That's when they're not just alone, they're forgotten by life itself. Their spouse grows emotionally distant. Their children grow up and see the truth. Old friends stop replying. The world shifts, slowly, quietly, and they become the one left behind in their own game. And you, the one who thought you lost, are actually the one who won. Not because you hurt them back, not because you screamed louder, but because you outgrew the illusion. You healed. You chose clarity. You stopped playing the game. Your victory lies not in revenge, but in the fact that you no longer need them to feel whole. You don't seek closure from them. You don't beg for explanations. You simply walk, steady, clear and strong, into a life they cannot follow. This is what they'll never understand. They think they're the sun, that everything must orbit around them, but that center is collapsing, slowly, under the weight of their own emptiness. But the truth about who gets replaced runs even deeper. To grasp the full picture, you need to follow a disturbing pattern. The narcissist chases a new target, paints them as a soulmate, and then lets them emotionally rot the moment the illusion fades. As soon as the excitement wears off, they discard and move on, always hunting for the next dopamine fix. And what's left behind? A longer list of discarded souls, more cracks in their fragile ego musk, and one undeniable reality. They're the one nobody stays with, not even themselves. Imagine an hourglass. Every grain of sand represents a person, a relationship, an illusion. The narcissist flips the hourglass over and over, convinced the supply will never run out. But eventually the grains wear thin. They lose their luster, they fall faster. And in the end, it's the narcissist who's swallowed by time, stuck in an endless cycle of emotional repetition, desperately trying to restart what never truly existed. One of the clearest examples lies in everyday stories, like the mother who builds, demolishes, and rebuilds houses, always blaming the bad energy of the walls, when the real haunted place is her own inner world. One house had demons, the next was cursed, and yet none satisfied her, because nothing external could fix what was shattered within. In the end, it wasn't the homes that failed, it was the emptiness projecting itself onto bricks and paint. Or the grandfather who once controlled everyone with fear. His voice once shook the room, but when aging stole his strength, no one listened. What remained in his eyes wasn't sadness, it was disbelief. Power isn't forever. Without anyone left to manipulate, he became a ghost in his own life, replaced by silence he never learned to sit with. These aren't just anecdotes, they're laws of emotional gravity. Narcissists discard, replace, abandon. But the more they discard, the more life discards them. Luxury cars grow old, dream homes become empty prisons, new lovers grow wise and leave, children grow up, awaken and walk away in cold indifference. The world continues to evolve, and the narcissist stays trapped in the hell they created. And here's the part they'll never admit. They never take responsibility for being replaced. It's always someone else's fault, betrayal, bad luck, or no one understands me. But in their rare, honest moments when the applause dies down, when they sit in the dark, they feel the truth. And it haunts them. Meanwhile, you, once labeled replaceable supply, are rising. You've nurtured peace, set boundaries, built a sanctuary of healing, and with every quiet, happy day you live, you bury their illusion a little deeper. They might still post and parade, but they know no one sticks around long enough to be fooled twice. So who truly got replaced? Not you. You outgrew the cycle. You escaped the game. You expanded your world. They, on the other hand, became a blurry version of their former mask, a name that slowly fades in the memories of those they tried to dominate. That is the eternal tragedy of the narcissist. The more they grab for control, the more they become irrelevant. The louder they scream for validation, the quicker they disappear in the echo of their own emptiness. And you, with your quiet, steady healing, became the loudest truth they never wanted to face. I was never replaced. I evolved. And then, at some point, the cycle begins to crack in ways that can no longer be hidden. There's no one left to replace, no one left to blame. The old connections have gone silent, the new ones have vanished, and the applause they once lived for now exists only in fading echoes. That's when a terrifying truth stares them in the face. There's no one left to perform for. A narcissist can fake love, fake kindness, fake remorse, but they can't fake forever to a world that's finally waking up. When no one is willing to play their game anymore, they begin to wrestle with themselves. And that's the one battle they were never prepared to lose. Because for years, their identity was built through reflection, through being noticed, feared, obeyed. They never truly knew who they were. And when the mask falls off, what's left is a void. And that void devours them piece by piece. When no one reacts, they panic. When no one begs, they rage. When there's no one left to manipulate, they start manipulating themselves with delusion. They'll return to the old supply, with cheap apologies, hollow phrases like, "No one understands me like you. I've changed, I know I was wrong, but this time you don't believe them." And it's that silence, not of hatred, but of growth, that breaks them down, because you're no longer fighting, no longer shouting, no longer trying to make them get it. You've understood something they never could. You were never the one who got replaced. They were the ones who lost something valuable. They couldn't keep anything. Because they never cherished it, they couldn't keep you, because they never truly saw you. And when you walk away, not in anger, but in peace, they're forced to confront their greatest fear, the silence of someone who no longer fears them. No more fear of abandonment. No more fear of being misunderstood. No more fear of losing love. Because you've found something greater than all of that, inner freedom. From this moment on, you're no longer a side character in their twisted story. You are the author of your own, with clarity, strength, and no strings attached. You don't need them to feel regret. You don't need them to admit fault. And that is what hurts them most. Because their power once came from your longing for closure. But now, when you no longer need it, they have nothing left to control. And in that moment, you'll see clearly, the one who truly got replaced was never you. And when you leave, they are confronted with a profound internal panic. But it's not the kind of panic you once experienced when they abandoned you. This isn't the heartbreak of a loving heart being torn apart. This is the shattering of an ego that's used to control, now exposed to the raw truth. They no longer have any power over you. You don't come back. You don't react. You don't text. No explanations. No begging. And that silence is what drives them mad. To a narcissist, silence is not just rejection. It's the denial of their existence. When you disappear without leaving behind a role for them to latch onto, they begin to spiral into self-destruction. They'll try to hoover you back in through apologies, fake emotions, tears if necessary, but it's all an act, because behind those performances is pure terror. They don't know who they are without someone to control. You were once the mirror reflecting their delusional sense of self. When you left, that mirror shattered, and that forces them to face the real void within. A void they've been covering up for years with short-lived relationships, intoxications of control, and manipulative victories. But when it all crumbles, they're left with only themselves, and that's what they fear most. They'll begin creating new stories to escape the truth. They'll tell others that you were the problem, that you abandoned them without reason, that you were the one who caused the harm. They'll launch smear campaigns, play the victim, and manipulate others to maintain the illusion that they're still in control. But deep down, they know. They've lost you. For good. They may replace you quickly, easily, but no one fills the space you left, because you were the only one who truly saw them, who tried to love them when they couldn't love back, who stayed when everyone else had walked away. And now that you're the one who's walked away, they haven't just lost an emotional supply, they've lost the stage to keep playing the victim. This panic doesn't explode in screams, it's silent, gnawing, night after night, hour by hour. It shows up in their eyes when the new person doesn't react like you once did, when the old tricks no longer work. When they face the reality that everything is repeating, but this time they don't have the strength to keep playing, and then they begin to fade into the shadows, not as a form of redemption, but as a disappearance of power. They shrink inside their own world, no longer the center, no longer the desired one. They become forgotten, not because others are cruel, but because they've destroyed every genuine connection they ever had. This internal panic is never admitted. They will never say, "I'm scared." Instead, they'll say, "I'm fine, I'm strong, I don't need anyone." But their eyes will tell a different story. The emptiness in their words, the stiffness in their gestures, all betray a collapse within that no one can rescue them from but themselves. And the irony is, they won't rescue themselves, because they don't want to change. They only want to return to their former position of power, the place where you still believed, still loved, still hoped, but now you're different. You're no longer seeking validation from them. You're the one who saw the truth and chose to walk, not out of weakness but strength. So don't be surprised if one day you hear that they're not doing well, have gone quiet, or aren't like they used to be. That's not an accident. That's the consequence not of your departure, but of their inability to keep, of their failure to cherish what was most precious, a heart that knew how to love genuinely. When you walked away, you didn't just reclaim your life, you left them with their truest self, and that truth is the nightmare they've been running from their entire life. You don't need to return, you don't need an apology, you don't need them to understand. You only need to keep going, with peace, with freedom, and with this truth: you are the survivor. They are the one who got replaced, and that ending? It's the one they wrote for themselves, with their own emptiness and selfishness. Even if they quickly find a new source of supply, it doesn't mean they've forgotten you or moved on. On the contrary, their haste only proves a deeper truth. They are grappling with a profound void, an emotional abyss they cannot bear. This emptiness isn't something that can be easily patched or filled with superficial distractions. It's an inner wound, a pain they dare not face, and so they turn to someone new. Not because that person is special, but because they need something, anything, to temporarily mask the hollowness within. The new person isn't someone they cherish or value in the way they once did you. They are merely a means, a temporary anesthetic to help them escape their greatest fear, the fear of being alone with themselves. When alone, they would have to confront difficult questions, harsh truths about who they are that they're unwilling to acknowledge. They fear looking in the mirror and seeing a version of themselves, vulnerable, flawed, and riddled with mistakes. So they rush to find someone else, a new presence to fill their time, to drown out the moments of silence where they might hear the voice of their own soul. But how bitter it is that no matter who they're with, they cannot escape the feeling of emptiness. You were once their deepest source of fulfillment, a patient, sincere person who loved them with all your heart. You gave not just your time, but your understanding, your sacrifices, and your trust. Those things cannot be easily replaced, no matter how hard they try. The new person may bring temporary excitement, but it's only surface-level, fleeting moments that lack the depth to touch the core of their being. Deep down, they know that what they have now is just a pale imitation of what they once had with you. If you see them flaunting their new person on social media with carefully curated photos and sweet words crafted as if for the world to see, don't let it shake you. Don't let those polished images fool you into doubting your own worth. Because behind those pictures, behind those meticulously worded captions, lies a crack that cannot be mended. It's a truth they try to hide but cannot deny. They are not happy. They're trying to convince themselves and the world that they've moved on, that they've found something better. But you, the one who once knew them better than anyone, know it's all a performance. You know who they are, you know the darkness they hide from others, you know how they hurt you, how they broke you with their words, actions, or even their indifference, and most importantly, you know they haven't changed. People don't transform overnight, or simply because they found someone new to be with. They're just replaying the same script with a different actor. They carry the same old wounds, the same old habits, and the same old fears. The new person is just a new audience, someone who hasn't yet realized they've stepped into a story already written, with an ending that's far from happy. Don't worry about being replaced. You cannot be replaced, because what you gave was real. Your love, your sincerity, and even your tears, they were all genuine, impossible to replicate. What they're trying to rebuild with someone new is just a makeshift copy, a desperate attempt to recreate what they lost. But they can't recreate it. They can't recapture the sense of safety, the understanding, or the trust you brought into their life. They may try, but in the end, they'll realize that what they're holding on to is artificial, something that will never compare to what they had with you. They are emptier than ever. That's the truth. They don't want to admit, but you can see it clearly. The void isn't something you left behind. It's something they created themselves. They chose to walk away from you, to let go of the best thing in their life, and now they must live with the consequences of that choice. They may turn to someone new, may try to fill their life with fleeting distractions, but nothing can hide the fact that they're missing something vital, something only you could provide. So, stand tall. Don't let their actions affect you. Don't let their boasts, their photos, or their fabricated stories make you question your own value. You are the one who loved wholeheartedly, who gave everything you had, and that makes you stronger than anyone. You don't need to prove anything to them or to anyone else. You just need to keep moving forward, keep healing, and keep believing that you deserve a love that's genuine. A love that doesn't need to be flaunted to prove its existence. Remember, you're not the loser in this story. You're the one who dared to love, to trust, and to sacrifice. You're the one who stood up after the pain, who learned to love yourself, and who chose to live authentically. And them? They're still running, still trying to fill a void they'll never fill. They may find new people, but that doesn't mean they've found happiness. True happiness doesn't come from seeking someone else to fill an emptiness. It comes from facing oneself, healing old wounds, and learning to love who you are. In the end, let them go. Let them continue with their performance, their new people, and their futile attempts to hide their emptiness. You don't need to be part of that story anymore. You've done all you could, given all you had, and now it's time to focus on yourself. Heal, love yourself, and open your heart to the beautiful things waiting for you ahead, because you deserve that and so much more. You don't need to look back. You don't need to wonder if they're happier now or if the new person is better than you, because deep down you know the truth. You know they're living with a void no one can fill, and you know you're the only one who ever came close to doing so. But now, you don't have to try anymore. You've done enough. Let them face themselves, and let yourself walk forward on your own path. A path filled with light, hope, and the promise of better things to come. And then the moment will come when their mask is torn away. All the carefully orchestrated ploys, the meticulously staged performances meant to conceal the truth, will crumble, leaving them exposed in the harsh light of reality they desperately tried to avoid. This isn't a moment of triumph or vindication for you, but a bitter truth. They become emptier than ever, consumed by shame as their own actions betray them. The glossy facade they've built, the dazzling photos, the saccharine words, the new relationships painted as picture perfect, were nothing more than fragile pieces of a temporary puzzle, unable to forever hide the fact that they're living in a play they've directed themselves. No matter how skillfully crafted, their mask cannot withstand the test of time. At first they may convince others that they've found new happiness, that they've moved on from you and everything you shared. They flaunt their new partner, their trips, their carefully curated moments designed to make the world envious, but the truth always finds a way to surface. Lies, no matter how often repeated, can never become reality. And when the cracks begin to show, when their actions betray them, the mask will fall, revealing a person stripped bare, with nothing left to hide the emptiness within. They will feel shame, not because others have criticized them, but because they realize they can no longer deceive themselves. When their new partner begins to see the flaws in their character, when promises go unfulfilled, when their lack of sincerity is laid bare, they'll face a painful truth: they cannot run forever. The new person, though initially swept up in their false charm, will soon realize they're merely a player in a recycled script. And when that person leaves, just as you were left behind, they'll face that emptiness again, but this time it's deeper, because they've lost yet another piece of themselves in their futile attempt to hide the truth. Their emptiness doesn't stem solely from losing you, but from their refusal to ever truly face themselves. They've chosen to flee, seeking new sources to fill the void, but each time they only dig deeper into their emotional abyss. Every new relationship, every new lie, every attempt to convince themselves and others that they're happy is a self-inflicted wound to their soul. They may fool others, but they cannot fool themselves indefinitely. And when the mask falls, when their ploys are exposed, they'll have to confront the reality that they've lived an inauthentic life, one built on illusions. You, who love them with all your heart, know this better than anyone. You've seen them at their most authentic, when they didn't need to perform, when they didn't need to hide. You've seen both their beauty and their darkness, and you chose to love them despite it all. But they lacked the courage to face themselves, the strength to acknowledge their mistakes. Instead, they chose to leave you, seeking an easier escape, a new person to continue their charade. But you know that no matter how many relationships they cycle through, how many people they meet, they'll never reclaim what they lost when they let you go. When their mask is stripped away, the shame they feel isn't just from being seen through by others, but from realizing they've been lying to themselves. They've spent so much time, so much energy building a false image, convincing themselves and others that they're fine, that they're happy. But when it all collapses, when there's no one left to lean on, they'll face a question they've always avoided. Who am I, really? And that question will cut like a knife, slicing through what remains of their self-respect. This shame doesn't come solely from being exposed, but from the realization of how much they've lost. They lost you, the one who was their deepest source of fulfillment, who loved them patiently through their darkest days. They lost the chance to grow, to learn how to face themselves and heal their wounds. Instead, they chose to run, and now, with their ploys laid bare, they're left with only emptiness. An emptiness greater than ever because they've stripped away the truest parts of their life. But you don't need to revel in their downfall or feel glee at their misfortune. You're not Juju system, not the one who lives to prove them wrong or seek revenge for the pain they caused. You're the one who chose to live authentically, to heal and to move forward. You don't need to wait for the moment their mask is torn off. You know that no matter how hard they try to hide, the truth will always come to light, and when it does, they'll have to face themselves, a confrontation they've delayed for far too long. Let them deal with their own emptiness. Let them learn to live with the consequences of their choices. As for you, continue on your path of healing, self-love, and the promise of better things. You don't need to prove you're better than their new partner or that you're irreplaceable. The truth speaks for itself. What you gave, your love, your sincerity, your trust, is inimitable. No matter how hard they try, they'll never find again what they lost when they walked away from you. In the end, let them face the truth. Let them learn to live with the shame and emptiness they've created. You, however, should walk forward with the belief that you deserve a better life, a truer love, and a brighter future, because you're the one who dared to love, to trust, and to rise again after it all. You're the one who chose to live authentically, and that makes you stronger than anyone. Let them cling to their shattered mask, while you hold on to your honest heart and continue your journey, a journey filled with light and hope. In the journey of confronting narcissistic abuse, one truth becomes increasingly clear. Narcissists, no matter how hard they try to maintain their perfect image or control their lives, will always, in the end, be replaced. This isn't because those around them find someone better, but because of their very nature, an unfillable emptiness, a mask that cannot be sustained forever, and a series of self-destructive behaviors that causes them to lose everything they've tried to hold on to. This is not a curse or an act of revenge from those they've hurt, but an inevitable consequence of the way they choose to live. A life built on illusions, manipulations, and a profound lack of authenticity. Narcissists often exist in a world where they must constantly seek out new sources of supply, people who provide them with the attention, admiration, or sense of control they crave. But, as previous sections have pointed out, their rush to find someone new is not a sign of strength or progress, but evidence of a deep-seated void within their soul. This void cannot be filled by anyone, no matter how novel or appealing they may seem. The new person is merely a temporary tool, a numbing agent to help them avoid their greatest fear, being alone with themselves. Yet the truth remains that no matter how far they run, no matter how many masks they construct, they cannot escape themselves. And when that mask finally falls, when their manipulations are exposed, they will be forced to confront the emptiness they've tried to hide all along. The replacement of a narcissist is not simply a matter of being abandoned or forgotten by others. It is a natural process where those around them, those who once loved, sacrificed, and placed their trust in them, gradually see the truth. They realize that the love, sincerity, and trust they offered were never fully reciprocated. The narcissist, with their nature of taking without giving, will always leave behind a trail of broken hearts, shattered relationships, and wounds that are slow to heal. But within that devastation lies an opportunity for those who are abused to heal, to rise, and to reclaim their own worth. Meanwhile, the narcissist continues their endless cycle, seeking new sources of supply, repeating old behaviors, and ultimately being replaced by the very people they once relied upon. The bitterest truth, as mentioned before, is that this replacement does not bring true joy or satisfaction. It is simply a part of the universe's law of cause and effect. The narcissist, though they may temporarily conceal the truth with lies or new relationships, cannot run forever. When everything collapses, when the new person sees their true nature, they will be left behind, alone with their own emptiness. And while they drown in shame and regret, you, the one who was hurt, have already moved further along your path of healing. You don't need to wait for the moment they're replaced to feel validated. Your worth does not lie in proving they were wrong, or that you're better than the new people who replace you. Your worth lies in the sincerity, courage, and capacity for love that you gave. Those things are real, and no one, not even the narcissist, can take that away from you. While they remain trapped in an endless cycle of emptiness, you have the opportunity to build a new life, one filled with meaning, love, and freedom. This conclusion is not a call for revenge or harboring resentment. It is a reminder that you deserve a better life, a truer love, and a future unburdened by the wounds of the past. The narcissist, with all their manipulations and masks, will ultimately be replaced, not because you or anyone else has won, but because they have defeated themselves. They have chosen a path that leads nowhere but to emptiness, and that is a fate they cannot escape. So let go. Let them face the consequences of their actions. As for you, keep moving forward, carrying your honest heart and your faith in a brighter tomorrow. You don't need to prove anything, because the truth speaks for itself. You are the one who loved, who sacrificed, and who rose stronger than ever. And while the narcissist remains trapped in their cycle of replacement, you are moving toward a future where you are free to become the best version of yourself.